This is interesting. It's so ironic that we have a director of sports journalism, J.A. Adande, joining us live on this, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. So let me throw this out, J.A., is that, I don't have a problem with a young athlete saying, listen, man, this is eating me alive. It's a mental health issue. I'm not going to talk. To me, that's the end of the story. Like, I got 6 kids in my life, 2 biological 4-step kids. I see the mental health. I see what social media does. My wife and I are dealing with this all the time, and sometimes kids need a time out. They need time away. There's too much anxiety. So, and I think to myself, I'll throw this at you. You know this, J.A., very well. Some athletes are great talkers. Kobe, some guys love the mic, some don't. And I've never had a problem, J.A., if 10% of a roster is allowed not to talk to the media for anxiety levels. But tennis is very interesting, Jay, because she's the star. There is no team. Where do you fall on her situation, this marvelous talent that has real anxiety with this stuff?
Well, she is right to prioritize her mental health and her well-being. And even if that's at the exclusion of playing tennis, she is right and she's in the right place. I believe she made a mistake, and I think it's common in a generation in having this play out throughout social media. And young people don't understand the difference between having a conversation and sharing through social media is not a place to have a conversation. And this needed to be a conversation. She needed to talk to the organizers of the tournament and say, I'm uncomfortable. I'm not well when I'm doing these press conferences. Is there a way I cannot do it? She needed to have that in private. And maybe they could have worked something out because, as you said, the tournament can't have everyone falling in line and saying, well, if she's not doing it, I'm not doing any media either. The things would fall apart and they wouldn't get the attention that they need. So if she could have done this in private and maybe this could have been handled, and they could have just said, Naomi Osaka will not be available for media. And then you wouldn't have other people basically using her as an excuse not to do it. I think that's where the thing, and people need to understand social media is not the place to have these conversations. The mistake was her putting it out there on social media without giving the organizers of the French Open a chance to respond. And then the way they responded wasn't very well either, right? They didn't have a private response either and put her on the spot and ultimately became untenable.
Yeah, it's just a learning situation. Everybody's got to learn from this. So, by the way, I was just in Chicago a couple of weeks ago. You're in a great city, and Northwestern, for those watching, is as good a journalism school as the country has. Probably number one. I couldn't qualify to get in, and AJ is the head of it. So that tells you the difference intellectually between the two of us. J.A. is he runs the department. I couldn't even qualify as a student to get in. So let me go to the fan stuff that's happening in America right now, overwhelmingly in NBA arenas. So I was on a flight Sunday, 2 people thrown off, a lot of attitude. And I'll tell you, it's a great airline. I'm not going to call them out. But they let the plane sit in a hot tarmac. The plane got hot. We all get on. We wear masks. I'm a mask guy. I couldn't breathe. I had a dog next to me sitting on me. We got people on the flight. The plane's 140 degrees. We're wearing masks. The AC's not very good. And I think to myself, some of this is mental health. When I look at the NBA stuff, I'm like, is it just a nation on edge? Or am I being too sympathetic and it's just bad actors here? I mean, what do you see when you see this stuff? Is there a racial component? How do you view it, Jay?
I think America is reverting to its default state. This is the normal state of affairs in America. Joy alluded to it earlier, that we've seen this happen before, and we've seen these type of incidents happen in these same places. People throwing things at players in Philadelphia, people saying racially charged comments to players or players' families in Utah. So really, there's not very much new. Washington actually doesn't have a history of things like this, but generally, the things we're seeing happen, we've seen happen before, and we've seen similar things happen in these same places. I think it's just condensed because we haven't had people in arenas in a year, and now that they're all there, it's all happening within a short time span. But I think if we were to allow this to play out, it would just be America reverting to normal. One more point I want to make on Naomi Osaka. You know, someone who boycotted his media responsibilities, Michael Jordan, every year at the All-Star game. He wouldn't do the media availability. He would just take the fine. You know, someone who walked away from the sport in order to focus on mental health, the burden became too much, Michael Jordan. And I'm not comparing Naomi Osaka to Michael Jordan, but he's someone who at the peak did similar things. And so I think we need to have some allowance for Naomi Osaka to do some of these same things and to behave in a similar manner as someone that we revere throughout sports, and that's Michael Jordan.
That's a great point. By the way, you covered Michael Jordan, as you recall. I know that, Chicago Sun-Times. You covered Kobe and the Lakers for the L.A. Times. And now again, J.A. Adande is the director of sports journalism at Northwestern, which I was driving by a couple of weeks ago in beautiful north suburbs of Chicago. So, it's interesting. I said this. LeBron has been bouncing. This is my theory on it. He's been bouncing around the league trying to find his Scottie Pippen. Somebody that's healthy, committed, in his prime, and can be his Robin. And he went to Miami, and D-Wade was old and beat up and missed games. And then he goes back to Cleveland, and Kyrie's a bit of a flake. And then he goes to Los Angeles, and AD can't stay healthy. And it's like you can run, but you can't hide from your problems. And I look at LeBron right now, J.A., and I think to myself, his career now, as committed as he is, his career has come down to a finger cross, to luck. If AD's not healthy, the titles are over. And AD increasingly is not healthy. I mean, that's how I view the Lakers going forward. Your thoughts?
Similar, because I thought a couple years ago that LeBron needed to be the second best player on the team. He needed to have the challenge of finding someone who could be better than LeBron. And Anthony Davis was that for a while, in particular through the first round or two of the playoffs last year. And then LeBron reasserted himself. And I'm not sure at this point, at this stage, especially still dealing with this high ankle sprain, can LeBron be the best player on a championship team right now at age 36 and with all the mileage on him? I'm not sure. And so, yes, he needs Anthony Davis to not only be Scottie Pippen, actually he needs Anthony Davis to be Michael Jordan, I think. And LeBron could be entering the Pippen phase of his career. Maybe he still has enough and he gets past the Suns and he can lead the Lakers to a championship. I'm not completely writing him off, but I think we have to adjust for the aging and the mileage that's on LeBron and realize that he can't play the role of Superman forever.
Great seeing you again, Jay Adande, who's covered all the big teams, the biggest cities in this country, and now director of sports journalism at Northwestern. What a job title, by the way. What?
Great seeing you, Colin.
Hey, great seeing you, Jay. Thanks. I loved his perspective on that. It was a great point. Michael Jordan took breaks because it was exhausting him. Remember, his father was murdered, and Michael just stepped back. Michael was so big in America. I mean, think about this. I know this doesn't sound like a problem to all of you listening. Michael could not go eat. He could not go to a theater. He could not live a life. He would stay in his hotel room. I remember seeing a picture during the Michael Jordan documentary. He's smoking a cigar, drinking orange juice, and he's just like, man, I'm over this. He couldn't even go to a nightclub. Every other player could go to a club. Michael couldn't. Michael had to build a restaurant and then build a room in the restaurant he could go eat. I'm dead serious. Like, that's how big Michael was. You forget, in my lifetime, LeBron is great. I've seen LeBron in Brentwood having pizza. Nobody bothers him.
Yeah, I mean, it is a different world now. People feel like they have a little more access to stars than
they
did with Michael Jordan.
They often do on social media.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the times of, Michael Jackson and Prince and Michael Jordan and Madonna, like the worship that celebrities got, Elvis Presley, like that I think that has dwindled a little bit because you feel like you have more access to them. You can see them more. You can go to their YouTube page. You can go to their Instagram. You can, maybe interact with them on Twitter. So they feel a little bit more accessible. But yeah, he's absolutely right. Like this is not new. As with most things, this is not new.
We've seen it before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting conversation.